Jenny.
Hello, Jenny.
Hi.
David. We're recording now, so good afternoon. Welcome to this meeting of the Folkestone Parks and Pleasure Ground Charity. We've been on Zoom many times before. I don't need to remind you about switching your phones off and things like that. So we will now proceed to the first item, which is apologies for absence. Have we received any apologies for absence?
No apologies this afternoon, Leader.
Councillor Peel has also sent his in.
Noted, thank you.
Okay. Declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? No. Move on then to item 3, which is the minutes. Do we accept the minutes as listed for Wednesday the that's today, 22nd of January 2020? Yeah, that is. It's a year ago. Do we accept those as a correct record? There being no objections, we accept those minutes. Thank you. We go on then to item 4, which is the Folkestone Parks and Pleasure Ground Charity Revenue Budget for 2021-22. And turn to Charlotte to
I'll take this item if that's okay, Councillor Monk.
Yeah, who's
Cheryl?
that talking? Cheryl. Yeah, yes, please.
Thank you. Evening, trustees. This report outlines the charity's budget statement of financial activities and recommends fees and charges for the next financial year 2021-22. The proposed net revenue expenditure to be financed by Folkestone and Hythe next year is £558,730, which is a slight increase of £2,790 from the 2021 budget. Section 2.2 on page 10 of the pack provides a summary of the movements in the special expense. Section 3 on pages 10 and 11 of the report provides further detail on the assumptions around car parking income and the anticipated beach hut surplus. Section 4.2 recommends that a further contribution to reserves of £36,040 is made in 21-22 from the anticipated surplus from the beach hut service, rather than reducing the special expense. This will increase the general fund reserve balance to £120,319. The proposed fees and charges for 21-22 are also set out in section 5.2 of the report, and the budget statement of financial activities can be found at Appendix 1. The trustees' attention is also brought to the addendum issued for this item with regards to an update of the beach huts project. Trustees approved the capital project at a projected cost of £500,000 back in October 2019, which was to be funded by a loan from the council. The overall cost of this scheme has increased to £543,000 due to higher than anticipated costs to renovate the existing 27 beach chalets, and the trustees are asked to note the position reported regarding the increased cost and approve the request of an additional loan of £43,000 from Folkestone and Hythe District Council to be made. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, can you just clarify something for me? Are we referring there to report Fppg 2002?
Sorry, Councillor, I've not got the agenda up in front of me. Let me just grab it.
Pardon? I can't hear.
I've not received a revised agenda today, but I'm referring to the budget report, so it may well have been sent out as an additional agenda item for the addendum.
Right, okay.
I don't know if Gemma is able to clarify.
Okay, so okay, over to you, members. So we basically recommendations to receive note of the report, approve the proposed fees and charges set out in paragraph 5.2, to approve the budget of financial activities for the year ended 31st of March 2022 for the Folkestone Pleasure Grounds charity as set out in Appendix 1, and to approve the proposed replenishment of the unrestricted fund during 2021-22 by £36,000 and 40 pence, £40 rather, and note the addendum that came on the extra monies for the beach huts. Okay, over to you, members. Questions and answers and proposals. Councillor Field.
Thank you. I just wondered, we must know what the overspend is for, but we don't know what that overspend is for. Hasn't been told to us. And I just wondered, and I understand that in initial costing on a project, you might not get everything right, but it does seem a lot. And when did we know?
I think what it basically was that we built more huts than was originally stated, and the renovation of the existing 20 odd chalets was more expensive than originally thought. So we actually built more chalets, so we'll get more income from them as the time goes on. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, it must be right. I just wondered, should we not have known that earlier on, or not?
Well, we did. We did. I mean, we did note it in cabinet earlier on.
Okay.
Okay.
I can probably add a bit more to this if you'd like me to.
Okay, carry on.
There were quite a few unknowns throughout the project, and on removal of some of the other huts, there were some collapsed drains underneath from the cliff out underneath the huts, which had to be repaired. The roofs of the existing huts were in a far worse state than could have been noted from initial inspections and had to be completely removed. And that was the body of the cost. I mean, I can provide far more detail if you'd like me to a later date, but as I say, there were drainage issues throughout the cliff. There were walls that had to be repaired that couldn't be seen at first inspection, that were behind huts, and things that were further degraded than we thought they were. And inflationary costs around COVID. Let's not forget that we have carried out this project in a COVID environment. The costs of materials have gone up, and there has been a battle to keep contractors on site and keep them to the costs, and constant battles with them asking for inflated costs to do with COVID, and battling to keep those costs down. So that's about the summary of it.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Councillor Prater. You're muted, Tim. You will get the hang of this one day.
I did it. On beach huts, I do, I understand exactly what Andy just said. I'd be surprised if we bought more beach huts than we got planning permission for. So I understand the additional draining costs and the additional costs on renovations, but I don't think that we built more than we have given ourselves planning permission for, but I stand to be corrected if Andy says otherwise. And I also wanted to say that I think that they look excellent. I'm up and down that stretch. I think that the painting, that the variety of them and the painting job, etc., I think actually is a real wow factor down there. I think it really has lifted the area. So that's really well done. One thing I didn't see within this report, it's building the income budget for next year. And that's effectively based on the budget for this year, but I haven't got a clear idea of what the income in this year has actually been. I can see what the budget for this year actually was, but if I could have, and I have signalled that to Charlotte, so hopefully she's not panicking at this moment, just an idea of how the income in this year has actually been, as that is what we're then basing effectively.
Can we have an answer to that, please?
Yes, certainly. So in terms of the sports income, year-to-date income is actually £850 more than the year-to-date budget, and is in line with income that we received in 1920. And car parking income, I have data up until the end of October, which we had received £95,000 of parking income against a budget of £115,000 for the year. And we are anticipating to achieve the full budget this year, and that figure is £30,000 higher than previous year's income car parking.
That's very good, thank you.
That's the majority of our costs in year. That's the majority of our income aside from rental income is between car parking and the sports costs.
Yes, the other income is for beach huts, which are obviously not let at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. The one question I've got in terms of the paperwork then, or the review and fees and charges for the year, fully understand all of the things there. I haven't got an issue with any of the lines there. Why are the beach hut rental costs not a fee or a charge, and why are they not within that paper for future years, so that we agree rentals for those beach huts as they rise in future years?
Can you answer that?
I can come in there if you like. Generally with these, there are individual leases that go out to individual tenants, and in line with all of our other leases, we don't list those fees and charges.
Okay. If we can think about that and come back if you like. I've then got Councillor Godfrey.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I agree with Councillor Prater. Actually, I think they look great. I think they are a great contribution to our town, and I believe that in time the extra costs will be recovered from income from those, and they're in high demand. So I have no problem with supporting this.
Thank you. Councillor Hollingsby.
Well, actually, Councillor Prater and Councillor Godfrey just said what I was going to mention about the planning, but Councillor Prater's already mentioned that. And just say that I haven't actually seen them physically, but people have sent me photographs of them, and they look amazing. And I do think that with the waiting list, that we won't have any problem with income. So I'm happy to support this.
That's the game plan. Okay, so we have those recommendations before us. Do I have a proposer?
I'm happy to propose.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
Quite
second, Leader.
Okay, so proposed by Councillor Mrs. Hollingsby, seconded by Councillor Collier. All those in favour? Would you take the roll call, please?
Absolutely, Leader. Councillor Collier.
4.
Councillor Godfrey.
4.
Councillor Field.
4.
Councillor Mrs. Hollingsby.
4.
Councillor Monk.
4.
Councillor Peel. Councillor Prater.
4.
Councillor Wybrow.
4.
Councillor Wimble.
4.
That's unanimous, Leader.
Thank you. Okay, then, so we move on then to item 5, the annual report and accounts for 2019-20.
Thank you, Leader. The report presents the annual report and a statement of accounts for the Folkestone Parks and Pleasure Grounds charity for the year ending 31st of March 2020. And the accounts have been audited by Hacker Young Chartered Accountants, the appointed auditor for the charity, and they will be issuing an unqualified opinion. Tracy Moore from Hacker Young joins us this evening in the meeting as well. The net revenue expenditure in 1920 was 544,000, which was 8,000 less than the latest approved budget for the year. Section 2.1 of the agenda pack provides further detail on the key variances, and the annual report and statement of accounts are included within the agenda pack. Section 5 gives an overview of the achievements and performance for 1920, and most notably that both of the Radnor Park Play Area and Coastal Park retained the green flag status for 2020, and that the trustees approved the capital scheme to refurbish and replace the beach chalets. During 1920, 43,000 of the balance of past external donations was utilised to install play equipment at Radnor Park, and the residual balance of donations and past proceeds of the sale of assets is 151,000 and is held by the council. The independent auditor's report from Hacker Young is included in the agenda pack, and the audit findings report starts on page 49. And there's also a letter of representation from the council to the auditors, which could be found on page 63. The Board of Trustees are asked to approve and sign the annual report and the statement of accounts for the charity, and sign the letter of representation to Hacker Young. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Could I ask Tracy Moore if she'd like to add anything, please?
I think that's quite quite a good summary from Cheryl. And to be honest, I'd just like to record our thanks to Cheryl for all of her help during the course of the audit process, because she made it a very smooth process, particularly as we've had to undertake it all remotely this year due to COVID restrictions. And yeah, very smooth process, no issues to bring to your attention. And actually that everything raised in the audit findings report is very minor. It's more of a housekeeping nature. So
excellent, thank you. Over to you, members. Councillor Wybrow, followed by Councillor Prater.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to ask Tracy a bit more detail about the audit findings. I know you said that they were very minor in detail, but they are covering financial control issues, so it would be useful, I think, if we could just cover that. And perhaps Cheryl could confirm that the charity is now on the work programme for internal audit next year, which I think is what you told me in an email earlier this week. Thank you.
Tracy?
Thank you. So yes, so they do cover financial reporting, and essentially, so there's, under the International Standards of Auditing, there's we're required to report on significant deficiencies, which none of these are. As I sort of say, they're not serious control issues, but they are more recommendations on how to make the systems more robust, if you like. So there's 3 points. So 2 of them are raised in the prior year's audit findings report, which was the cash sales regarding to the pavilion, which I think was also raised in the audit, the internal audit report a couple of years ago. And given the lateness of how we undertake the audit, because obviously the main council audits first and then we do the charity audit once that's all wrapped up, there wouldn't really have been much chance to put any controls in place in time for the last financial year that we've just audited. So I expect that these will resolve in this financial year that we audit next, the 21 year. So they're not really, they're all in hand is what I'm trying to say here. So the point regarding the cash sales and the pavilion and the deposits, obviously there would have been disruption regarding the cash sales anyway, with the pavilion being closed for part of the year. And then the film fixer income. So these amounts are actually trivial to the accounts. So for the purpose of the audit, we wouldn't raise this as an audit adjustment because it's below the level of triviality. And there's nothing to suggest that from a control point of view, there's any issues. It's just a financial reporting standard requirement that items are grossed up between income and expenditure regarding the film fixer income. So just for absolute black and white, this is the way in which we should be doing it. That's why we've raised that point. But as I say, it's really, really very, very trivial amounts. It's about £500. It's not very much at all.
Happy with that, Councillor Wybrow? Thank you. Councillor Prater.
Thank you. A couple of things. Firstly, to say that I think it's really helpful that this is now a public meeting and therefore this paper is being seen in public and is on YouTube and all the good things. Thank you for doing that. The fact that that and the papers are being seen is really helpful. A point of detail on page 14 of the accounts, of the balance sheet of the accounts, I'm fairly 98% confident, but I just want to check my understanding, where it discusses the capital grants reserve and the revaluation reserve of 2.8 million and 1.8 million respectively. They're not real cash, are they? They are values of the fixed asset, which you would only realise if you sold the assets of the park, of the charity, as opposed to actually being cash. Can I just confirm that my understanding is right there?
Yes, you're right. Cheryl, would you like to just confirm that?
Yes, that's correct.
Because otherwise we wouldn't need to seek all these income streams we need.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we make it absolutely clear for those watching that there isn't there isn't 4.8 million pounds in the bank.
Thank you for assisting in that clarification. Right, keep up the good work. Right, is anybody else want to speak? If not, can I have a proposer? Councillor Prater, can I have a seconder? Councillor Godfrey. Okay, so proposed by Councillor Prater, seconded by Councillor Godfrey. All those in favour, can you take the roll call, please, Gemma?
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Collier,
4,
Councillor Godfrey,
4,
Councillor Field,
4,
Councillor Mrs Hollingsby,
4,
Councillor Monk,
4,
Councillor Prater,
4,
Councillor Wybrow,
4,
Councillor Wimble.
4.
That's unanimous, Leader.
thank you. And I believe that is the last item of business. So, yeah,
no,
No,
item
so-
6.
Leader, there's one more item, which is
oh yes, Folkestone Parks and Pleasure Grounds update report. Right, and who's doing that,
Thank you. I am.
please?
Thank you, Leader. The report provides the trustees with an update in relation to all of the decisions taken under my delegated authority relating to the charity assets. The report also covers other matters relating to charity lands. The trustees should be interested to note how the charity how the charity lands support the Folkestone Triennial. That the beach huts that we've already talked about, the project is nearing completion and looking fantastic, and that we have been awarded a £20,000 grant from KTC to carry out design and viability work to potentially regenerate the facilities at Eastcliff. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Over to you, members. I think that shows we're very proactive in trying to push forward the aims and objectives of the charity and make sure it has a secure future. Councillor Prater.
I just wanted to say thank you for the report. I thought it was a good report. I think that which is listed under Eastcliff and the potential options around that under section 4.2 are really interesting. And I look forward to seeing that coming forward. But just wanted to say to Andy, that's a useful report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hollingsby.
Yes, really to say the same, and to say that during this pandemic, to have this work carrying on as it has, and to have a report like this, I think is excellent. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, thank you. I'll look at that. Councillor Godfrey. You have to unmute, David.
I just went the other way around. Yes, thank you. Yes, of course, it's a great report, and I think we're very privileged to have officers that are constantly looking towards improving our district and looking at projects like the Eastcliff. So well done, and keep it up. Thank you.
Yes, I think you make the point very well that despite COVID, our officers have continued to look after the day job. When we had our customer excellence survey recently, that was the thing that the assessor remarked on particularly, that wherever else he had been, all they could talk about was COVID. And when he came to us, we could do was talk about the future. So I think that's very good. Right. Okay, I need a proposer and a seconder. Councillor Wybrow and seconded by Councillor Mrs Hollingsby. So we have the proposition to receive note report and agree the next update report shall relate to the period up to and including, I'm making sure I've got the right one, yeah, 21-22, proposed by Councillor Wybrow, seconded by Councillor Mrs Hollingsby. All those in favour? Gemma, please.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Collier.
4,
Sorry, just bear with me a second. Councillor Godfrey.
4,
Councillor Field.
4,
Councillor Mrs Hollingsby.
4,
Councillor Monk.
4.
Councillor Prater.
4.
Councillor Wybrow.
4.
And Councillor Wimble.
4.
That's unanimous, Leader.
Unanimous, thank you. I'd like to thank Tracy for coming along and assisting us, and I close the meeting.